Many places I've seen that they depict Hanuman as an incarnation of Vishnu. In fact, there's in India sometimes you see Panchamukha Hanuman, which has Hanuman with with one head, and then there's a Lord Varaha, and other incarnations like that. Not true. Oops. I think. Okay. So, it's not true. Hanuman is a devotee of Ram. He's not Ram. That may shock some of you who think that Ram and Hanuman are the same person. That's called impersonalism, where you think the devotee is the same as God. Hanuman's eternal position is to serve Ram, and the mystery of his birth is quite interesting because it involves Hanuman's birth or appearance on this earth involves an embryo transplant, which the scientists have just discovered how to do within the last, I think, 10, 20 years, right? So here's the story of Hanuman's appearance. Once upon a time, Lord Shiva and Parvati, Durga, had a romantic relationship, and Durga became pregnant. And Lord Shiva requested that the embryo be transported to the Earth planet. And that embryo was transported to the Earth planet by Vayu. Everyone's heard of Vayu before? He's the wind god. So Vayu transported the embryo and put it in the womb of Anjani. And Anjani wasn't just an ordinary monkey lady. Like you go to Vrindavan, you see so many monkey ladies, and monkey men, and monkey babies. But she was coming from the heavenly society, and she was the servant of Brihaspati. And the story, or the reason she came down and was Hanuman's mother, or came down in the Kimpurusha species, not monkey species, Kimpurusha species, which is sort of a mixture of human beings and monkeys, I guess human beings with a little more hair on it than normal. Just like sometimes we have devotees with a lot of hair too. Actually, Prabhupada said that during the 1960s, devotees would join the movement that had a lot of hair, and he said they looked like monkeys. But they were not Kimpurushas. So anyway, she was serving Brihaspati in the heavenly planets, and she saw some Gandharvas and Apsaras and became a little romantically inclined. And when Brihaspati saw her again, she grabbed Brihaspati, the priest of the demigods, and started to kiss him and embrace him. And Brihaspati said, "You are acting like a monkey, therefore become a monkey." And that's how she became Manjani. And she got the blessings that as soon as she gave birth, she could go back to the heavenly planets. So she gave birth to this embryo transplant, who happened to be Hanuman, who is an expansion of Lord Shiva and also the son of Vayu. He's called Vayu Putra and an Anga of Lord Shiva. And so after she gave birth, she started to go back to the heavenly planets, and there was this little baby there. And the little baby said, "Mom, what am I supposed to eat?" And she thought for a second. Monkeys generally eat fruit. Generally, they're vegetarians. Just like you go to Vrindavan and you offer the monkeys bananas, right? And also they eat other types of fruit too, and they steal from you, and they like glasses, right? But Hanuman was not that type of monkey. He didn't like glasses. So what happened is that she said to him, "Find some fruit." Fruit is something that's nice and round and orange. And so Hanuman, he looked up in the sky, and he saw something that was really nice and round and orange, and that was the sun planet. So he goes after the sun, and he's chasing after the sun. He thinks delicious, because he's so powerful he can actually approach the sun. Normally, the sun has millions and millions of degrees of heat. So if you even go within, let's say, 1,000,000 miles of the sun, you're burnt to a crisp. So he approaches the sun, and he starts to engulf the sun, and someone else is trying to engulf the sun at the same time. Does anyone know who that is? Rahu. And Rahu starts to fight with Hanuman. Hanuman just says, "Get out of here, you stupid demon." And Rahu's just a head anyway. He doesn't even have the rest of his body, because he had his head chopped off by Mohini Murti, the beautiful incarnation of Krishna. And so then Rahu goes back and complains, and he says, "I'm supposed to have this benediction of being able to eat the sun, or trying to eat the sun and the moon at a certain interval. That's called eclipses." And Indra comes, and he fires his thunderbolt at Hanuman. And guess what? It hits Hanuman, and he falls to the ground. And everyone is thinking that Hanuman has died. And so his father, Vayu, gets really upset. Now, the interesting thing about Vayu is that he controls the wind. Now, not just the wind, outside, but within your body you have all these different winds. They're called prana, apana, samana, etc. You understand? And these winds control the different functions of the body. This is Ayurveda. This is part of Ayurveda. And if they're balanced, you're happy, you're able to eat nicely, and if they're imbalanced, you are crazy. It's like sometimes it's described in India, if someone's crazy, you say they have a wind disorder. Lord Chaitanya, his mother thought he had a wind disorder, but it was actually spiritual ecstasy, Divyamada. So basically, this wind god, Vayu, he cut off all the air within the universe, not only within the universe, but within the bodies. So nobody was able to breathe. Everyone was going throughout the whole universe. And so the demigods, Lord Brahma and others, went to Vayu and said, "Why are you doing this?" He said, "They have killed my son." And so with Lord Brahma and the other demigods, they brought Hanuman back to life. And as they brought him back to life, he got many benedictions from the demigods. Many different blessings of power and knowledge. And eventually, he took initiation from the sun god, who he was trying to eat. It's like taking initiation from your prasadam. Anyway, so think about that for a second. So Suryadev became his spiritual master, and in order to take instruction from Suryadev, he had to fly backwards as Suryadev was going forward and circulating the Earth and other planets too. And so then at the end of that instruction from Suryadev, Suryadev asked for his Guru Dakshina. And he said, "My Guru Dakshina that I want you to give me, Hanuman, is that you will always serve my son." Who was Suryadev's son? Sugriv, that's right. You will always serve my son. And that's why he was inseparable from Sugriv. And so that's why he was always protecting Sugriv from Bali. Interesting story. So of course earlier, Hanuman had made a big mistake and had tortured some of the sages. Not tortured them exactly, but teased them. And he was cursed to forget about all of his powers. So when the monkeys reached the shore of the ocean, Hanuman didn't know that he could cross the ocean. Therefore, Hanuman was reminded about his great powers by Jambavan. Now, Jambavan is not a monkey. I don't care what you say after you've seen the movie. He's not a monkey. He's the Riksharaj. He's the king of the monkeys. Just like someone could be in charge of a zoo, that doesn't mean he's an animal. Isn't it? So, I mean, these monkeys and bears, I'm sorry, he's the king of the bears, not the king of the monkeys. So these monkeys and bears are not ordinary, just like bears. They were actually spiritual bears, great devotees of the Supreme Personality of God. So he was the king of the bears. And he had a daughter, her name was Jambavati. And Jambavati was so beautiful, she married Krishna later on. Actually, millions of years later. And she wasn't an old lady. It's not that Krishna married a girl that was like 10 million years old. She remained young. So the proof that Jambavan was not a bear, or didn't look like a bear, was that his daughter couldn't look like a bear. Krishna would never marry a bear. Right? Krishna wouldn't even think about it. Oh my God. Who's your wife? Can you imagine? Swayamvara, a man, a bear, a big hairy lady. So anyway, she was not a bear, and Jambavan was not a bear, but Jambavan was Chiranjeev. Chiranjeev means he was the son of Lord Brahma, and he could remember all the previous pastimes of Lord Ram that he had seen. Because the pastimes of Lord Ram are Nitya Lila. In other words, they're occurring once and again and again and again in some universe. Lord Ram's pastimes are happening right now. Right now, Lord Ram is participating in the Sita Swayamvara, picking up the bow, and the bow is breaking. Right now, Ram is killing Ravan in some universe. And if you are a great devotee of Lord Ram, first things that happens when you leave this body is you go to where Lord Ram is, in this world, somewhere in some universe. And then you go back to the eternal Ayodhya in the spiritual world. And if you're a great devotee of Krishna and Vrindavan, then first you take birth in some pastime in Vrindavan that is taking place in some universe. And then you go back to the spiritual world. And if you're a spiritual master like me, you just continue to take birth in the material world. You can't get out. Why? Because you have to take the karma of every disciple. And you have to come back to get them. Oh my God. Can I resign? Anyway. It's true, probably said that. Of course, sometimes the spiritual master can send back someone else. Just like there's the story of a great devotee named Bilvamangal Thakur, who was very attached to a prostitute, and his spiritual master spoke through a prostitute because he was so determined to see this lady. He crossed a river in the middle of a storm and grabbed hold of a dead body, grabbed hold of a snake to climb up the wall to see this girl. And this girl said to Bilvamangal Thakur, if you were as attached to Krishna as you were to me, you'd be a pure devotee. He said, yes, ma'am. And he left. So, the moral of the story is the spiritual master can ask someone else to save you. But it's not so bad to come back to the material world to serve Prabhupada. I wouldn't mind. Just like Narada Muni, he is always preaching and serving, isn't it? Always traveling material spiritual worlds. So, if one is attached to serving Guru, then there's no problem to stay in the material world. It's no problem. It's actually ecstasy. So I'm very happy for my service, and if Prabhupada wants, I'm happy to stay here forever and ever and ever, eternally. Not the future, but I'm just joking. I'm happy to stay here and serve Prabhupada, because if one has Guru Bhakti, that is non-different from Krishna Bhakti or Radha Bhakti. Try to remember that. And that's the way to achieve Krishna Bhakti. Okay, I can play the song now. That was a mini lecture. What's that? Yeah, no cartel with the drums, okay. So we're going to chant the song. it's not that I really wrote this song. I wrote the music to the song, but I didn't write Raghupati Raghava Rajaram. I am not Valmiki Muni or an incarnation of Valmiki Muni. I am simply a humble servant of Prabhupada. So the song goes, Hanumana, 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 oh Hanuman. Can everyone remember those words? Or do we need to write them down? If you can't, this is Kali Yuga. And then we go Raghupati Raghava Rajaram, Patika Pavana Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 Sitaram. Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Jai. And we do responsively.
Raghupati
So finally, a few years later, I'm at the university studying, and still thinking, what is the purpose of life? And all of a sudden, I hear on the radio, someone, his divine race, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And all of a sudden, my soul wakes up. I go, no, not quite. At that point, it's always something, wow, what is this? And I kept listening and listening and recorded the song and listening over and over again. And Krishna arranged, actually after hearing Prabhupada's chanting, I became so disinterested in the material world, I stopped my studies. I'm not saying you should do that. Don't take my example, it's a horrible example. I stopped my studies, and I just thought, what am I going to do? I need to be spiritual, because I had this association with Prabhupada. And then one day, someone gave me a Krishna book. And I read the Krishna book about a little blue boy stealing butter and feeding it to monkeys. And I couldn't get that image out of my mind. I kept thinking, who's that little blue boy? I know it's Krishna. Now I know. Anyway, and then eventually that led me to the Krishna conscious movement. And then the point is, now I have a purpose in life. It makes me happy. A reason for doing what I'm doing, not just like making money for the sake of making money, or surviving for the sake of surviving, or getting a bigger car, because, whatever, or traveling somewhere. To me, everything has to have a purpose. What I call a why. People should be thinking like that. Why? What is the purpose of life? So, therefore, when you have a purpose, you can be enthusiastic, and you focus on that spiritual purpose. You can be enthusiastic. So, I'm very encouraged to see the parents who have actually understood the purpose of being parents and raise their children in Krishna consciousness. So that was one point. So today we have initiation. Initiation basically means, to initiate or to begin, but it means more than that. It means to really say to Krishna, from this day forward, I am yours. Oh, thank you. He's another second generation devotee. He had his first initiation when he was 11 years old. 11, right? And it's his appearance, he's Maruti. He's Hanuman. Actually with a beard, maybe. So.
Hairy monkey.
What?
Hairy monkey.
Yeah. So, anyway, so we said initiation, some people think it means to begin, but it means to say to Krishna, from this day forward, I'm yours. Because naturally, in this material world, there's two divisions of consciousness, which are I and mine, right? These are the two divisions of the false ego. That I am the center. Ishvaro ham, aham bhogi, siddho ham, bhagavan sukhi. And so much is mine. It's like a mode of passion. He is my enemy, I have conquered him. I have this wealth, I want more and more and more. And so, that's the division of consciousness that occurs in this world. That's the false ego. So when one takes initiation, it's like it's saying to Krishna, from this day forward, I belong to you. I'm your property. And that's actually the way to get out of the material world. Krishna in the Gita, in the 15th chapter, describes that this material world is like a banyan tree that is upside down because it's reflected in a body of water. In other words, the roots are up and the branches are down, and everything's so tangled up in primitive activities you can't figure out how to get out. But Krishna tells us how to get out, he says, and don't take this verse from the 15th chapter of the Gita, Nirmana Mohajita Samvedosha, Yatmanacha, Vipita Kama, Vangari Muktar Sukadukha Samgyar, Kachanchi Mutha, Paramaviyanta. He said, Nirmana, one has to give up this false prestige that you're the center, that you're the enjoyer, you're the provider. And that's the moha. Moha means illusion. Nirvana Moha Jita Sangha Dosha. And to take up the association of Krishna consciousness. There's another meaning of initiation. That you begin to associate, or you promise to associate with devotees, and you sort of minimize your association outside. Because Krishna says, Jita Sangha Dosha. Jita Sangha. Jita means to conquer. Just like Krishna's name is Ajita. Ajita means the unconquerable. So Jita Sangha Dosha. Dosha means not something that you eat, doshas. Bad doshas. Anyway, so Sangha Dosha. Dosha also means, in Sanskrit means bad. So when you're eating doshas, you're eating bad. No, not good. So Jita Sangha Dosha. So to conquer bad association. Because in this world, we're not only in Maya, but we're associated with everybody else and everything else, and all the songs and movies and mobile phones. Not mobile phones are not bad, but and everything else. And then we're becoming overcome by these modes of nature. So we take up good association. Lord Chaitanya said the first principle of devotional service is a satsanga chagi vaishnavachar, giving up bad association, taking good association. Sarvasanga, sarvasanga, sarvasastra koi, lavamantra sarvasanga, sarvasivihoi. Lord Chaitanya says, by moments of good association, you can achieve all perfection. That's what I experienced by hearing Prabhupada on the radio. Just a moment. It was like the song, the story of the Pied Piper. And it was heard that. He played a flute and all the kids followed him. So Prabhupada played his Hare Krishna mantra and all the kids followed him. And the parents were really upset. I remember, just a little history. When we all joined, our parents were just like, oh my God, I've lost my child. They were so upset that sometimes they even hired psychologists to figure out if we were crazy so they could take us away. One time I went to visit my father and he introduced me to his friend, the psychiatrist. And then he left me alone with him for 2 hours. So for 2 hours, the psychiatrist was asking me, are you happy? Do you ever get depressed? And I said, I'm happy. Are you happy, Mr. Psychiatrist? Do you ever get depressed? And by the time I was finished with him, he thought he was crazy. That's how you deal with psychiatrists, in case you want to know. So anyway, so it was like that. It was like the Pied Piper, there's another interesting story too, that Prabhupada, there were two Prabhupada's disciples who were brothers. One was Brahmananda and Garbhanuni. There were two brothers. And their mother came to see Prabhupada. And Prabhupada instructed them, bow down and touch your mother's feet. And then the next thing Prabhupada did is he asked their mother for a donation. And Prabhupada said, and the lady said, I've already given you my 2 sons. What else do you want? The Prabhupada was very bold like that. It was very interesting. So anyways, let's get back to the verse I was quoting. Then he brings it home. One has to give up this lust, this desire to exploit others. What does lust mean? The desire to use someone else as an object of your enjoyment. It's horrible, isn't it? You look at someone else and you think of them as an object rather than a subject. Do you understand the difference? Like I look at a mobile phone, I think, oh, how nice, I like to enjoy it. That's okay. But if I look at a devotee or a person, and I think, oh, I like to enjoy life, Gokul is my humble servant. He's humble. So he is meant for my enjoyment, to serve me, to fan me all day long. Then that's really bad. Even a guru should not think like that about the disciple. Everyone should understand their servant. So anyway, so Vinivritta Kama, Dvangva Vimukta, one has to be liberated from duality in this material world. Sugaduka Samgar, like happiness and distress, and then the judging without then one can go back to the spiritual world. So that's what initiation is in a nutshell, the essence, the why of initiation. Krishna, I'm yours, everything belongs to you. So how do you develop that consciousness? Then that's called sadhana, you practice at it. Because I can tell you that right now. You belong to Krishna, everything is Krishna's, okay, fine. And then you leave the room, you forget it 2 seconds later. You think, so much is mine, so much will be more tomorrow. So you have to practice remembering that. Because the whole point is Savimana Krishna, Vindayo, to remember Krishna always. I mean, there's benefits to that too, because then you go back to Godhead, Yam Yam Bhakti Smaran Bhava Kashantiyanti Kalebra. Whatever you think of at the time of death, that's what happens. So, one has to practice remembering Krishna. That's called sadhana. And the devotees who are taking initiation today are taking vows of sadhana. Sadhana means practice, because in any field, you don't become perfect right away, even after learning the theory. Like, Dowdy's a doctor. So you went to medical school, right? I hope. So, right after medical school, they say, okay, you're a doctor, start operating. Did they? No. You had to do what? Internship, and then residency, and that. So how many years of that?
3 years.
3 years.
Internship and then another 3 years.
3 and 3, 6 years.
No, 4 years altogether.
4 years altogether. How many hours were you allowed to sleep when you were doing that?
Minimal.
Did you have to work like 72 hours at a time? Anyone here want to become a doctor? But at the end, it's worth it. It's worth it. Because you have to practice and learn. You have to learn what a kidney is. I mean, it's true. I mean, if you just study, finally, when you get to a body, you won't really know. It's just like driving a car, right? You have to have practice doing it, as well as theory. Otherwise, I remember the first time I started driving, I studied and everything like that, and I didn't know how to apply the brake. That's usually what happens when one first starts driving a car, isn't it? They push too hard on the brake, and the engine goes out. So in the same way in Krishna consciousness, you have to know, you have to practice. And that's chanting regularly every day, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, good association, and avoiding certain things that are counterproductive to Krishna consciousness, which is what? The 4 regular principles, the 4 things, prohibited activities, illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and meat eating. And actually, the devotees who were taking initiation today, I don't think they ever did those things. So that's pretty good. So, that's initiation in a nutshell. It's promising to follow the sadhana process with the ultimate goal of understanding that Krishna, I'm yours. I belong to you. And when you understand that you belong to Krishna, then you have this relationship with Krishna that's so intense that you can even control Krishna by your devotion. Krishna can be controlled by pure devotion. Okay? So, in a nutshell, that's the initiation lecture. So, we'll proceed. What happens now? Outside. Or should we give the names here? And usually we do it after the initial purification mantras, but do we have an amplifier outside or no? Yes? No? We have a microphone outside?
No.
So maybe it's better we do that part here. You'll give me the names? Just the deities.
A quick introduction of them.
Okay, why don't you introduce 2 ladies who take initiation? Yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Samdhya, so we'll get the initials here as well. I forgot to welcome, a special welcome to Sahatan and Gokul Bandhu who are all the way from Fiji here. So the two initials are, first one is Sandhya Bercho. She is as Guru Maharaj Anasana said, she's Madhumangal Sen Lolakshmi Devi's daughter.
Yeah, both.
Boltar. She works as a social worker and lives in Tasmania. She's been living in Tasmania for the past 25 years. She's married with 2 daughters and the family are in Hobart. So that's Sandhya. Second daughter is Ashmita Naikar. Ashmita is a regular face in Brisbane, so everybody knows her. She is a business owner, real estate agent, and works in Brisbane. And both have been attending temple from while they were in Fiji and Krishna Kali temple. Very well, thank you.
Okay. So the process is that both, just one by one, of course, will first of all offer obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. We have a guest of the Prabhupada? Yeah. To Srila Prabhupada here, and the deities, in that order. First Srila Prabhupada, the deities, and then you offer obeisances here. Asking them for blessings. Because all of us, one thing I do need to mention is that Srila Prabhupada is the ultimate Siksha Guru or instructing Guru for every single one of us, and every single one of us is meant to have a deep personal relationship with Prabhupada. This is what holds the Krishna consciousness movement together. You know, we all have our individual initiating spiritual master. Of course, for me, it's His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, the founder and Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. You just sit down. Sit down for a second. I'm just finishing up an explanation. So, but for all of us, we do have that connection with Prabhupada. Whether or not you were initiated by Prabhupada, you have a personal relationship. And I remember Prabhupada telling us one time that the grandfather spiritual master is more merciful to the devotee than the initiating or present spiritual master. So you are more fortunate than me. Because I was initiated by Prabhupada, but you get to have Prabhupada be more merciful to you. Because you're his grandchildren. Pretty nice, isn't it? Or if you're your great-grandchildren, Prabhupada is always there. So in order to develop that relationship with Srila Prabhupada, it's essential that each and every devotee read about Prabhupada, his life, not only the books of Srila Prabhupada, but Prabhupada's life, like the Amrita, the books. Yeah, there's a wonderful book written by Yamuna Devi. Yamuna Devi was one of the first ladies who joined the Krishna consciousness movement, and she had a lot of association with Srila Prabhupada. And you'll see how kind Prabhupada was to the ladies in Krishna consciousness. So I know whenever a new biography of Prabhupada comes out, or a biography of a devotee who's with Prabhupada comes out, I immediately grab it and read it. And we should be so enthusiastic like that, to learn who Prabhupada is, because Prabhupada is the personification of Bhagavad Gita in action for the modern day. If you want to understand how to be a devotee in the modern day, understand what Prabhupada did. Understand Prabhupada's Guru Bhakti. Because Prabhupada showed us, why do we say that Prabhupada was the most exalted disciple of Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur? Because he showed us the importance of taking the words of the spiritual master as his life and soul. Many disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada's spiritual master, got the instruction to go to the Western world and preach in English. And Prabhupada was the one who actually did it with no money, basically, no assets, no paraphernalia. He just did it with faith in the spiritual master. So he showed the topmost Guru Bhakti. Therefore, we say he's the most exalted devotee. That's the proof. You don't go by, what type of kirtan someone leads or how fancy someone dresses, but by how much bhakti they have. Devotion practically for the Guru, not just tears. We have this saying in English, I don't know if you have the saying here, crocodile tears.
Yeah.
You got that saying?
Yes.
When someone just has tears, it doesn't mean it. It's called crocodile tears. Because a crocodile, if you see him crying, you're in trouble. You get that close, you're in trouble, you're in trouble. So, but that's not just tears, but practical action. And that's how you get Krishna's mercy. I mean, whatever mercy I've gotten, it's because I've served Prabhupada according to his order. So really, that's an important part of initiation, understanding the connection with Prabhupada. It's extremely important. Okay, so we'll start. You ready? No, you're not ready. Okay. See you tomorrow. So, I'm ready for initiation. Ready for your name. No, I'm going to ask you some questions first. So, I was going to say which color BKG you want. So, which one?
The other one.
This one? That's yours, okay. Because they didn't tell me when they gave me the blue bags. So, what are the 4 regular principles?
No eating and no gambling, no illicit sex, and what's the last one? Oh yeah, no intoxication. No
Or in
intoxication.
Fiji, it would be. No, it would be actually pounding the cow first. Okay, very nice. And how many rounds do you chant?
16.
16 now. That's good. That's all I require. And if you can chant more in Kakasi, it's good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So your name now, I've got a number of different names up there for you. Let's see which one is good. Wow. Okay, here's a good name. Actually, it takes me a long time to pick the names because I've had to think about the person and pray to Krishna for the appropriate name. It's not that I just pull out my computer and just go to the name. So your name now, get the beads with your right hand. Actually, you should take the beads out of the bead bag and you get the beads after that. Is
Sundara Rani Devi Dasi.
So Sundara Rani is the name of Radharani, obviously. Sundara means beautiful or attractive, and Rani, queen. So that's, she comes to Radharani. It's a nice name, isn't it? Sundara Rani Devi Dasi. Next. You can sit down. Good. So these names indicate that one is a servant. Like after each name there's a Das or Dasi or Devi Dasi, and we're all servants. Gopi Bharata Padakamola Dasa 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 Dasa. Okay. So, what are the 4 regular principles?
No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex.
Very good. And how many rounds?
16 rounds.
Yeah, try to chant more, right? Sometimes, we do the 25, and I know it's very difficult for me, so I'm not going to oppose that. So try to chant more on Ekadashi. Usually on Ekadashi, if I'm not doing a million and one things like I was today, I will chant 64 rounds. And if you chant 64 rounds, it really changes your whole life. It just takes one day. If you don't have anything else to do that particular day. Most days I have a lot to do, so. But if you can take one day off, do a little japa retreat. I know at our temple in the United States, we have japa retreat days during Kadasi, and devotees stay in the temple when they change 64 hours. I'm asking. Oh, okay, so, I forgot to give your sister her that. You can give it to her. So, get the beads with your right hand, and your name now is Arati Priya. This is the ceremony, of course, of worshiping is being God. But Arati Priya is the name of Radharani who worships Krishna. She does Arati to Krishna. And Krishna does Arati to her. Arati Priya. Arati Priya Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Okay, so then I guess we'll go outside and proceed. Oh, wait.
Sahagana Raghunath Pita Kamsa Jiva Sabadvaita Sabaduta Parejana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakavita Swaha 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 Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Srimate Veer Krishna Maharaj Iti Namine Swaha 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 Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Eti Namine Swaha 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 Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Swaha 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 Shri Vasubhanavi Devi Daikaya Kripadaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Swaha 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Swaha Swaha Okay, the last oblations. This is called Punahuti. So everybody should stand for that. Initiates.
Pick up your banana.
Hold the banana. And make sure that it goes onto the fire or the chant.
When you say it, when it tells you.
Namo Brahmanaya Devaya Go Brahmana Hidaya Jagat Dityaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu
Shri Vishnu.
Shri Vishnu
Shri Vishnu.
Swaha
Swaha.
Swaha
Swaha.
And the little blades can go on the side as well. Yes. Teacher Vashana. Allowing all the folks. Mantratas, Tantratas, Jidram, Desha, Kalaha, Vastitaha, Sarvam, Karoti, Nischidvam, Anusankirtanam, Tavam. And this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 8:23:16, the translation. There may be discrepancies in pronouncing the mantras and observing the regulative principles. And moreover, there may be discrepancies in regarding to the time, the place, the persons, and the paraphernalia. But when your Lord's holy name is chanted, everything becomes faultless. There should be kirtan, you can walk around.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare